Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Reporting. Coming up here on today's show, the top 10 free agent cornerbacks still available on the market. The reason why I'm making the show is because I got told by a very good source after the 2023 NFL Draft that Rock Ya-Sin and the Raiders had some sort of mutual interest. From what it sounds like, the Ravens were willing to give him more money. For that reason, he ends up signing with the Baltimore Ravens. So now the question is this. How can we find a replacement for Rock Ya-Sin, who I would make the argument was probably the Raiders' best cornerback last season next to Nate Hobbs? You got Duke Shelley, you got David Long Jr., both undersized corners. Can Nate Hobbs go back out to the outside? Can you rely on Tyler Hall in the slot? You drafted Jacorian Bennett at 103 overall. What exactly happens with this Raiders cornerback room? We will discuss it more in detail, but I do still think that this team needs to add some sort of veteran to this room. So how about this? Because this is what the Raiders Report's about. Before I give you my top 10 list, what's your confidence level in the Raiders cornerback room? Let's just say tomorrow, it's week 1. We know our matchup. How you feeling with the current cornerbacks on this team? Scale it from 1, they don't got a chance in hell, Mitch, to 10, this is the best damn cornerback in the league. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. After this YouTube ad break, I will give you my answer. As it stands right now, I would say the Raiders cornerback room and confidence level-wise, it's probably about a 6. It's not great. I do think, though, Duke Shelley is going to impress a lot of people. However, let's now get into the top 10. Number 10 coming in here is Grant Haley. And for those of you that know, if you have a connection with the Raiders coach, that does weigh in terms of where I'm going to put you on this list. Is he undersized? Yes. Do the Raiders have enough undersized corners? Absolutely. 5'9", 190 pounds, 12 tackles, 3 PBUs, but he played with Patrick Graham before with the New York Giants. Let's go to number 9 on my list. And again, this is top cornerback still available in free agency. I can't stand Eli Apple. There are a few NFL players that, I'll tell you right now, it'd be hard to root for Eli. If he's a Raider, no doubt, I'm going to be cheering his ass on, that sounds weird, on Sunday. But I don't like what Apple brings to the field. He does a lot of this. He is, though, a top 10 corner still available. And the Raiders, remember when they tried to get him before? And that one fell through. Why? Yeah, FEA. Let's go to the next name coming in here at number 8. It's Anthony Brown. Now, being down here in Dallas, I've heard a lot of good, and I've heard a lot of bad around Brown. 42 tackles last season, 7 PBUs, 5'11", 196 pounds. I do think that there are way too many times that he gets exposed, and to me, he's probably a little bit more of a cover, like zone corner, than being a press man type of guy. But just like I mentioned with Eli, he is top 10. This is where the list is really starts to get interesting and where I want you all to start paying attention. Coming in here at number 7 is Bryce Callahan. The reason why Callahan is on this list is he does have some versatility. He also has experience playing in the AFC West. He's played with the Chargers. He's played with the Broncos. And he was a player that the Athletic linked to being, hey, this could be a corner that the Raiders look at. In that Athletic article, they named 4 corners. Rock Ya-Sin, gone. Bryce Callahan, and then the other 2, well, they'll be coming up here in a little bit later. But 47 tackles, 3 INTs, 6 PBUs, another undersized corner for this Raiders backfield. No, defensive backfield. That's the right word I'm looking for. Let's go to number 6, Artie Burns. And if it burns, remember, yeah, it's probably on you, man. Turn on those noties if you haven't already. But Artie Burns is a player that I've tried to keep somewhat of an eye on. I know he's bounced around a few different teams, played in only 3 games last season. He does have a little bit more length, though. And the more and more I look at this Raiders cornerback room, I want some players that have a little bit more length. I'm going to tell you that right now. And at 6 foot, he does offer more than what the Raiders currently have on this team. If it burns, well, hopefully you don't eat corn the long way. And if you're trying to get your hands on Josh McDaniels Eats Corn the Long Way shirt, just so all y'all know, this shirt was made here on the Raiders Report all the way back from free agency and March Madness. So if you don't eat corn the long way, get your shirt here at chatsports.com/corn. I think it's a funny shirt. I will say we're going to be making some more kind of similar to this, so be on the lookout for it. But at the end of the day, it's all just about having a good laugh. McDaniels, if you don't like him, if you like him, thought it was funny, McDaniels eats corn the long way. You can get your shirt down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's go to number 5 here on the list. It's Troy Hill. Troy Hill, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, was probably one of the most highly coveted cornerbacks on the market and had a little bit of a down year this past season. 67 tackles, an interception, and 4 PBUs. 5'11", 180 pounds. Also, though, one of the things that this Raiders staff, I really truly believe, will always look for is chemistry. Troy Hill has playing experience with David Long Jr. from their time together with the Rams 2 seasons ago, and Hill was the man opposite of Jalen Ramsey. And I was stood on this show before, and I said, I'm not that crazy about Hill because when you're the man opposite of arguably the greatest or the best cornerback in the league right now, it makes your job a lot easier. And I do think it's one of the reasons why you saw Hill's stats padded. People just simply went at him. Let's go to number 4. It's Ronald Darby. And I know the Raiders look for versatility. Ronald Darby might be one of the most underappreciated, versatile cornerbacks that is still a free agent. I'm probably a little bit higher on him than some other people out there. Last season, 14 tackles, 3 PBUs, 5'11", 193 pounds. I believe if the Raiders wanted to run a 4-2-5 defense, Ronald Darby can still get it done, and I don't think he would ultimately cost all that much. For everyone who's watching the show, these next 3 names are going to be the names that a lot of y'all are going to absolutely love. At number 3, it's Marcus Peters, and some people might have him at 2. Some people might have him at 1. I know that Peters grew up a Raider fan. I know when he talked to Graphic Raider, he told him, hey, man, I would love to be a Raider. And I believe that. If Marcus Peters suits up, puts on that shield, wears that silver and black, he's going to wear it with a lot of honor. On top of that, one of the biggest things that the Raiders have struggled with is realistically creating turnovers. Peters can still do it. He is, though, coming off the worst season of his career in terms of passer rating allowed. Let's go to number 2. It's Casey Hayward. Yes, I love me some Casey Hayward. He was a star for this Raiders defense, a Pro Bowler back in 2021. He then made his way over to the Atlanta Falcons, and he was released just a few weeks ago. I love Casey Hayward, and I'm going to continue to say that. He is a veteran. He's a fun player. He's built, though, for zone coverage. He is not a press man corner, and if that's the type of defense that the Raiders want to run, I do not think that Hayward is going to be a good fit. However, if there are certain situations where you know that you're going to run zone, Casey Hayward should still be a player to keep in mind. And I would imagine he would be open to the idea of coming back. Though the defensive coordinator that the Raiders had back in 2021 is not here. He's with Indy. Shout out to Gus Bradley. Let's go to number 1. It's Shaquill Griffin. Shaquill Griffin, back in 2021 with the Seattle Seahawks, was one of the most, I'll say, he was one of the top free agent cornerbacks out there. Had a nice payday with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's been not all that great ever since. They've had a lot of turnover with the head coaching staff. They've had a lot of turnover with all of their staff in general. So I'd be curious to know if you give him a shot, and I do think Shaquill Griffin could play in Patrick Graham's system. He's tough enough, he's long enough, and he's definitely physical enough. 29 tackles, 4 PBUs. Those are my top 10 free agent corners that the Raiders should potentially look at. So how about this, though? Now is your opportunity to give me a name. Name a corner that you believe the Raiders should sign. If there was a player that I thought I probably let off this list based on just the way that this organization works, I do think, I really truly do think that one guy to keep in mind is the Jackrabbit. But if you want to be able to add more names, if you like the names I have on here, give me one name that you believe that the Raiders should sign. As you all know, if the Raiders sign a cornerback, we will be going live here on this channel, but I'll also be posting about it on Twitter and on Instagram to make sure you never miss anything around the Las Vegas Raiders. Always stay tapped into social media and stay tapped into us here on the Raiders Report on YouTube.